the object hummed. Not a sound you could hear with your ears, but a vibration you felt deep in your bones, a low, resonant thrum that seemed to echo from the beginning of time itself. It was a perfect sphere, no larger than a human heart, crafted from a metal that reflected light with a slick, oily sheen of colors that didn't belong in our world. It had been pulled from a layer of compressed shale dated to the late Cretaceous period. 66 million years old. It rested on a velvet cloth in a sterilized lab, a silent, impossible testament to a history we never knew we had. We thought it was dormant. We were wrong. The first sign was the way the dust motes in the air began to orbit it, creating a miniature, swirling galaxy in the sterile room. The hum grew stronger, and then, without a sound, a single, razor-thin line of incandescent blue light appeared, bisecting the sphere's dark surface. And that's when the screaming started. To understand how we reached that moment of stark terror, you have to go back 6 months, to the Atacama Desert in Chile, the driest place on Earth. It's a landscape so alien, so utterly devoid of life, that NASA tests its Mars rovers there. Dr. Aris Thorne wasn't looking for aliens. He was a paleogeologist, a man who believed in rock strata and carbon dating, a man who trusted solid, tangible evidence. His team was excavating a newly exposed cliff face, revealed by a rare earthquake, searching for fossilized evidence of a prehistoric shoreline. For weeks, the work was grueling and monotonous: dust, heat, and the meticulous chipping away at rock that hadn't seen the sun for millennia. They were camped miles from the nearest village, a tiny constellation of tents against an endless canvas of ochre and rust-colored sand. The sky at night was a spectacle, a profound and humbling darkness punctured by the fierce, cold light of 1 billion stars. It was under that very sky that a young intern named Kenji, working late by floodlight, heard a strange metallic ping from his pickaxe. It wasn't the dead thud of striking rock. It was a clean, melodic resonance, as if he'd struck a tuning fork the size of a mountain. Aris rushed over, his usual academic calm replaced by a feverish curiosity. They spent the next 24 hours digging, carefully, reverently, until they unearthed it from its 66-million-year-old tomb. The sphere, perfect, seamless, and cold to the touch, impossibly cold in the blistering desert heat. They transported it to a private geological institute in the Andes, a state-of-the-art facility nestled in a remote valley. The official story was that they'd found a unique metallic meteorite. Only the 4 members of Aris's core team knew the truth about the stratum it was found in. For the first month, the sphere did nothing. It defied every analysis. Carbon dating was useless. Mass spectrometry returned gibberish, a chaotic spike of elements that shouldn't exist, and atomic weights that broke the laws of physics. They tried to drill it, but the diamond-tipped bit shattered without leaving so much as a scratch. X-rays couldn't penetrate its surface. It was as if the sphere simply absorbed the radiation. It was a black box, a perfect physical void in their understanding of the universe. Then, the subtler effects began. The technicians started complaining of migraines, but only when they were in the same room as the artifact. People had trouble sleeping, haunted by recurring dreams of impossible geometry and vast, empty spaces between stars. Aris himself dreamt of a dead, black sun and colossal shadows moving at the edge of his vision. He dismissed it as stress, a consequence of the professional vertigo he felt staring at an object that science couldn't explain. Then, 2 weeks before the incident, Kenji noticed the symbols. They weren't carved or etched. They seemed to emerge from within the metal itself, faint, silvery patterns that would glow for a few moments before fading. They were alien, a complex language of interlocking circles, precise vectors, and star maps of constellations that were not visible from Earth. This was no meteorite. This was a message, a device, and it was slowly, methodically, waking up. The humming stopped. For 3 seconds, the lab was plunged into a silence so absolute it felt like a physical pressure against their eardrums. Aris, Kenji, and 2 other senior researchers stood frozen around the pedestal. Then the blue line appeared, a crack in the fabric of reality itself, splitting the sphere's dark surface. It widened, not like a crack, but like an opening iris, and from within, a beam of solid 3-dimensional light poured out, painting the air in the center of the room. The screaming began when the image resolved. It was not a star map, it was a city. Jagged, crystalline towers stretched towards a bruised purple sky where twin suns burned. The architecture was nightmarish, organic, as if grown rather than built. And through the canyons of this impossible metropolis moved shadows, tall, spindly figures with too many limbs, their forms indistinct, yet profoundly, instinctively wrong. The sphere was showing them its home. Then the perspective pulled back with sickening speed, showing the city was just one of many on a world bleeding red from vast, dying oceans. The twin suns flared violently, and the world burned. The sphere was showing them its end. The projection became a single point of light, a vessel fleeing the cosmic death of its system. It hurtled through nebulae of emerald and gold, past galaxies that looked like shattered glass. It was a journey of unimaginable loneliness and time. And then, a familiar spiral arm of stars appeared. Our galaxy. The perspective zoomed in, past Jupiter's great red spot, past Saturn's rings, towards a vibrant blue and white marble. Earth. But the continents were wrong, Pangaea still breaking apart into the shapes we know. It was a primeval world of jungles and volcanoes. The sphere was showing them its arrival. The projection shifted one last time, showing the view from orbit, and there, emerging from the dark side of the moon, was not a ship, but a rock. A colossal, misshapen asteroid, 10 kilometers wide, tumbling end over end on a collision course. The sphere projected a final, frantic burst of its alien symbols, a language of pure terror and warning, just as the asteroid struck the Yucatan Peninsula. The image flared into a blinding white light that filled the room, a silent, holographic apocalypse. And as the white light engulfed Eris, the sphere on the pedestal pulsed, unleashing a wave of physical force that blew out the windows, sent equipment flying, and threw the 4 researchers against the far wall like dolls. Eris's last conscious thought was not of the impact, but of a chilling realization. The sphere wasn't a message sent to us. It was a warning buoy, a cosmic gravestone, marking a danger that had followed it here. The asteroid hadn't brought it. The asteroid had silenced it. Eris woke to the smell of ozone and the sting of cold mountain air pouring through shattered windows. The emergency lights cast long, dancing shadows across the ruined lab. Kenji was groaning a few feet away, clutching his head. The other 2 researchers were unconscious. He stumbled to his feet, his body screaming in protest, and looked at the pedestal. It was empty. The velvet cloth was gone, and in its place was a perfectly circular scorch mark, burned deep into the steel. The sphere had vanished. The official report called it an unexplained equipment malfunction, a cascade failure in the facility's power conduits, causing a massive electrical discharge. The researchers' testimonies were dismissed as confusion and trauma in the wake of the explosion. Their shared, bizarre hallucinations were a textbook case of group hysteria. Dr. Eris Thorne, once a respected name in his field, lost his funding, his credibility, and his career. He now lives in obscurity, a man haunted by a truth he can never prove. He is haunted by the image of a burning world, and by a question that gives him no peace. What was the sphere truly? Was it just a data log of a long-dead civilization? Or was it a warning? A warning that was silenced 66 million years ago, buried just deep enough to be forgotten. We are left to wonder, what was it warning us about? And after all this time, has that ancient, star-faring threat simply disappeared? Or is it still out there, patiently waiting in the silent darkness between worlds?